I'm going to attempt to explain to all the viewers, and I should mention the viewers, your Hotas support in terms of the video they did for the tutorial for the joystick for the flying was awesome. Thank you so much for all the views. That's really good of you. Some really positive comments. Thank you very much. I'm amazed at how well it's been received and people have looked at it and used it, developed it and done their own thing with it, which is cool. But it's really good to have had that many views. So let's get on to this video. This video is about chopper setup. So people have been asking me, can you please do a helicopter setup video for the Hotas flight stick? And I really enjoy choppers. A little bit, yeah, more than tanks. I do aviation, basically. Air realistic is my thing. Sim, not so much recently because of Battle Pass. Battle Pass gets in the way, man. When you do Battle Pass, you need to do realistic battles or arcade battles. It just gets in the way of my doing sim battles, which is a bit of a pain. But if you want those vehicles out of that Battle Pass, then that's what you've got to do. Sacrifice. So I guess we should start with a helicopter. This is the links that I've ground out. The G-links helped me get there. Ultimately, I've got all the way to the Apache. G-links has helped out quite a lot there. I should start at the beginning, I guess. Let's start with the Scout. Right, so the Scout, early helicopter for the British Army, notoriously bad engine trouble with it. If you look on Wikipedia, great source of information. There's a competition between different squadrons as to how many hours they could actually put on the engine. So the Scout, not a particularly powerful engine on it, but a helicopter nonetheless. This thing's armed with what we've got. We've got 4 tow missiles. Whee! I have not got the settings set up. This is an aviation setting. Let's go to controls quick and change that to helicopter mode. Yes, there we go. And back to there. Resume. Right, let's land it first. Go through it. Right. Here we go. Cool, okay. So, Lynx helicopter. Not Lynx, sorry. Scout helicopter. What was I saying? Yeah, armament. So we've got 4 tow missiles. These are wire-guided missiles. Basically what that means is that the wires are attached to the missiles as they launch off the vehicle. And they deploy for X amount of, I don't know, feet, meters, yards, whatever. But that wire is always being guided by your gunner, if you like. So this guy, he's using that sight above his head, you see that? And he's using it to guide basically those 4 missiles, 2 on either side. But the Scout's also got, which you can't see very well, 2 machine guns just above the skis there, see that? So we've got 2 machine guns. Right, okay. Right, so let's do looking around first. So looking around, I use the hat switch on top of the stick. So the hat switch is to the left of button 2 on the top of the stick. And if you use left, it goes left. If you could press right, it goes right. If you press up, it goes down. I actually have it inverted. You can see inside my neck, which is awesome. And I push down, and it goes up. So X and Y, that's down, so it goes up because it's inverted. And I press up, and it goes down. Similar to flight control, really. And I've got what is B for reset view. So if I press left and then press B, it resets the view. So I did quite a lot of view work in my original Hotas video setup. Basically it's the same look around options. So left and right on the hat switch. I can also use the mouse, which I've got set up. So this is the mouse. We can also use the... Oh, that's not working. So I'm just going to say the Xbox controller, but predominantly I'm using the hat switch to look around. And I've also got change views, toggle views, which is, what's that? Button 8 on the back of the throttle. And that toggles the views between gunner view, cockpit view, virtual view, and external view. So I've also got the same as the controls of the flight setup on the Hotas flight stick for the air realistic battles. It did a hurricane video basically, and on that video it did a lot of stuff to do with views. On front of the throttle we have the tilt bar, and the tilt bar allows me to zoom in, and allows me to zoom out. Alright. Zoom in, zoom out. And then that reset view just takes me to the generic view, so it overwrites the zoom if you like. Takes me back to there. Let's have a quick look at those controls for camera. Don't want that. I want camera control. So, we had rubbish. We had zoom axis, which was the tilt bar on the front, and this is what the controls are. And I've got a reset axis on that. Look, so that reset axis value. Yeah, you need that because if you zoomed in, you need it to go back immediately to reset. So you do need the zoom axis reset. So that's the zoom axis. Like I said, we've got. So this is viewing Battle X. So this is the camera control, if you like. So it's C2. Is that right? Controller 2. D-pad left, D-pad right. In Battle X. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's the... I press left. Yeah, it's basically calling controller 2 Hotas flight stick, and D-pad left is a Hotas left, and Hotas right there. And the same is true for Y, that zoom up and down the Hotas. Now, relative control is 70%. I mean, you'll tweak that to how fast you want to be moving your head around, but it's the same as the Hurricane flight sort of view setup. So you've got a hat switch, up, down, left, right for X and Y axis, look around. You've got the zoom axis tilt bar on the front of the throttle, and that allows you to look around the aircraft, alright? Okay, let's go to movement. So, movement, I've got the throttle, which basically controls my collective and the RPM. So, if I throttle up, the aircraft goes up because the RPM is going up and the collective's 100%. And if I go to 50%, then I start to decrease in altitude, and 0 I'll go even more. If I go back up, then crash into that 10 otherwise. So my throttle is controlling my collective. Movement. So sorry, collective pitch there, that is the throttle. It's all to detect axis, and they've got a bit of a dead zone to it, but it doesn't really matter. And it's basically plain 1 times multiplier and non-linearity. And it's, look, check that these settings here, that none of them are ticked into yes. So it's not relative, it's not inverted, it's just a straight throttle up down. And you know that's what it's doing. So that's the collective very quickly. So you see there at 90. Now the thing of interest with this particular helicopter test flight at the moment is I've got 114 minutes of fuel, so an hour and 14. No, it's digital, isn't it? So yeah, I've got quite a lot of fuel on. I forget what the options were. I just went for it. So collective. Let's talk about this view for a second. So this is the virtual HUD view, if you like. In the middle of the screen, there's a vector arrow going around clockwise. That is my direction of travel, basically, at the moment. So I'm going to the right here. If I keep pitching forwards, I'm starting to go forwards. So it's like a cushion of air that the rotor blades are spinning. And that vector, depending on that line, the length of that arrow, sort of gives me an indication of how fast I'm going in that direction too. So I'm slowing down, slowing down, and now I'm going backwards. So that vector is basically my direction of travel vector. Alright, so let's have a look at that in help. I press escape and then press help. Does help tell me? Look, so see here that you have a velocity vector. So that's telling you your direction of travel. This is your attitude indicator, which basically tells you your roll. See that? See the W, which is like your aircraft wings, if you like. That's your attitude to what your helicopter's doing relative to the horizon. Alright? And you can see the same as in the cockpit, look. You've got the artificial horizon doing the same sort of thing. Alright, so let's go back to help. Let's resume. Everyone's taking... No, it doesn't. Help. So, velocity vector. This is telling you the direction of travel. This is attitude, indicates that you roll and you pitch, if you like, a little bit. The most important thing, other than your direction of travel and your velocity, is your height, which is your altimeter here. So in this virtual screen, you have a height indication here. You can have that in feet or meters. It depends on how you've got it set up in options, your general options. But you also have a vertical speed, which is your climb and descent rate, if you like. So at the moment, this is -8. I suspect this is -8 meters a minute. -8 meters a minute. And I suspect this is just 169 meters. I don't think it's feet because it looks too high. So there's also rocket aiming bar here, which is for dumb rockets. These are just impact rockets, they're not guided. And there's also a secondary cannon's aim point here, which isn't actually on the Scout. You actually have to use... Basically, I kind of use the tip of this V here, this upside down V, as my aiming point. But then you have to account for the position of the guns or the rockets on your wings, or your stublets, whatever you want to call them. It may be slightly off. So you might have to, so for the Lynx, for example, I think it's mounted on the right hand side, and I think you have to aim about here. Use this as an aim point here. So just basically use that, what I sort of imagine is an imaginary box. But on the Scout, they're mounted both sides, quite close to the fuselage. Use this sort of as an aim point, maybe inside the V's just a little bit where the actual will hit. Let's go back to flight. Right, I need to move away out that tree very quickly. There we go, cool. Right. So that's a bit about the cockpit in terms of the virtual indicators. You can see there across the top. What's that? Across the top here in your screen, which you don't see on this help screen, but you will in the flight. You'll see the compass. Zoom. So at the top there, you can see the compass. So that's my heading. If you do any sort of flying on War Thunder, you'll be familiar with that. And on the left, you have various. You have RPM, collective percentage, speed, machine gun rounds, air-to-ground missile rounds, oil temperature, engine temperature, and fuel in terms of time. Right, so I'm making this look easy flying around the base. But... I spoke too soon, didn't I? Did I crash into that? No, not quite. Right, let's land again. Back on the deck. Right, so those doors are open there. I can open and close them. Let's have a look what that is. This is in miscellaneous, I think. And there's open cockpit. So I'm using the X button for that. Now why do I do that? That's on the side of the Hotas throttle stick. I use open cockpit quite a lot in enduring confrontation. It's good to open the cockpit and to listen to hear if any helicopters are approaching. Show you what that's like. Let's take off. Doors close there, look. So it goes a bit quieter, alright? And you can hear, but you can't hear external stuff as well as you might unless you opened up the doors. Now it's a bit weird because it's noisy and it's not pleasant to listen to, but it might save your life in terms of hearing another helicopter. And you can always close them, not a problem. Open and close, alright? Useful for hearing enemy helicopters approach you, where you might not have the crew, or you might not have spotted a helicopter close or enemy close. You can hear ground vehicles as well, you can hear their engines. It's really useful for hearing enemy helicopters approach you. Right. So it's quite hands-on flying a helicopter in terms of using the throttle. A combination of the throttle and the stick to sort of guide it where it needs to be. Let's approach that and land it. Right. I'll do. Turn the engine for a second. Controls. Let's talk about movement. Movement. So my roll axis, you won't be surprised to hear it's the joystick left and right. Okay, easy peasy. Yeah. One multiply, one non-linearity. Not a problem. Roll and pitch. I have one basic helicopter setup for most helicopters. I've got a bit of differences for the Apache and the Kamov K-52 because it's very slightly different in terms of the movement rates and how maneuverable they are. So I wanted to dial them in separately. So I got three helicopter sensors. My basic one, which is this one, and two special for Apache and Kamov K-52. The alligator, I think that's right. So pitch is the joystick up and down. But I've got it inverted, alright, which is why you're seeing crazy movement here. Alright, so inverted axis. Non-linearity, for some reason I got 1.5. I think I started with the Hind premium helicopter. And I think it based most of this on that. But for some reason I decided that non-linearity was needed for pitch, and that's what I went with. Multiplier 1, pitch, joystick forwards, back, or up, down. Roll, left and right. You won't be surprised to hear I use the twist of the stick. Right, left and right, right. So, let's go back. Close, continue, resume. So, turn the engine off a second there. So I use button I on my keyboard. So I should explain that I use 3 control methods. So mainly it's the stick that's flying. I also have a keyboard accessible to me. And I use button I to turn the engine on and off. So it's just powering up now. Inside we should see, yeah, there we go, the RPM building. And the engine warming up, we can hear that. And we've got a bank of instruments there, which is kind of useful. I mean, that climb and descent indicator top right, that's really useful in cockpit view. The altitude is obviously important. But you get a sense of when the engine's ready to go. I mean, now it's kind of ready because the noise of the rotor sounds right. And look, we've got, what's that? 6,500 RPM. Maybe more even. Anyway, basic instruments. It's ready to go. Close the doors. It's 50% collective, so I'm not taking off yet. There I go. Now I'm not touching any control input other than throttle. That's a crash. Oop. Should correct that out. Right. So I'm using the rotors to generate a cushion of air, and I'm using a bit of bank, but also at the moment I'm putting in, I don't know, half an amount of yaw to the left, and I'm almost spinning around one spot, but not very well. So let's show you that. Let's pick a point and let's fly around it. Okay, I'm going to use the helicopter pad in front of me there. I'm going to put the virtual cockpit on. So I've toggled, and then what am I going to do? There's a yaw going in, and I'm pushing down to pitch my nose forward to go forwards. But I've also got a bit of a... how do you explain it? I'm sort of going right, but I'm twisting left at the same time, and I'm also tweaking the throttle there so that I'm maintaining, as it turns out, about 120 feet off the ground. So I can get tighter than that. And just move. Embarrassing. The Microsoft controller, when it times out, obviously lose all the audio. I'm back. Right, so I'm using a combination of pitching towards it and a bit of yaw. You can see that I'm flying around the helicopter pad. Alright, so up, down, left, right on the stick, and twist gives me all my, oh, and of course, importantly, the throttle gives me my control movements, alright? So it's relatively easy. And you just need to get funky with your moves to get into test flight. move it around, get a feel for how the helicopter moves, how it operates. So in test flight, you also get a number of targets, alright? So over there is an SPAA target. I don't know what SPAA stands for, but basically it's bad news for aircraft. It's going to shoot you out of the sky. It's anti-aircraft wheeled track or track vehicle. So here I am flying towards it. Push my nose. You can see my machine gun cursor there going up and down across there. You can see my vectors I talked about earlier. So I'm going to fly towards it by pitching the nose and being mindful of where the trees are. You're going to have to learn, if you want to get into helicopters and you want to get into enduring confrontation in very early helicopters, you're going to have to learn how to side snake. And when I say side snake, sneak around the edges of the map. And when I say snake, as low as you dare. Alright, so you're going to have to get used to dodging trees or flying with trees, around trees, near trees, alright. So I'm going quite fast at him. I'm going at 80 miles an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left, bury the nose a little bit, keep an eye on the vector, throttle down to 50%, now throttle back up again, and I've almost broke near him. Braked, stopped, parked near. Until now I'm hovering around the target, alright? Talk about guns. So weaponry. So my primary machine guns is going to be my trigger finger, alright? So it's C2F1, so it's the trigger on the stick, alright? And I put additional guns on that as well, and small caliber guns. I basically put all the guns on that trigger. But I also use the left mouse button, so I did explain I got a keyboard, Hotas, and mouse being used to control various parts of helicopter stuff. Drop bomb, you can do that. You don't really need it unless you're intent on flying with bombs. Where are we? Bomb. Problem with bombs is you have to be over the target. If you're hovering over the target, you have to be hovering at height. Just be careful with how much bomb sort of height you're giving yourself, or you're just going to get hit by that bomb, by your own bomb. Rockets, I've got the side button to the trigger, so that's you're just to the right of the trigger and above the trigger on the Hotas flight stick. That's for rockets. Yeah, let's call it there. Right, so resume. So there I am looking at. Let's put the machine guns on it. See what I mean about the position? Where the impact's happening there, look. I'm using the top of the V to hit it, but it's not. These are really machine guns. This is what, 7.62 general purpose machine guns strapped to the side of a Scout. They're alright, but they're just not great. I mean, they're not piercing this vehicle at all. They're having negligible effects. Alright, that's the problem with early helicopters. Unless you get something of a cannon, you're not going to be able to do much with your machine guns. But saying that, though, obviously that thing's a bit armoured. Let's try a small truck. So in test flight, there's also column of vehicles over there. Over there. Just here, you take off there, that south of the field. So a bunch of targets. There's also an aircraft flying around. We got no chance of hitting that with the Scout, the aircraft. But we have got our ground targets. So there's a bunch of trucks here that... Gaza! I don't know if they're AAA support trucks. But let's talk about light machine guns. Let's see if they can do it. Let's see if we can do any damage. Got some bursting going on there. Too high here, look. Put the pitch down. Collective back up again for full because I'm descending too quickly. It's really about managing that cushion in terms of how much throttle you've got. There we go. Generally on these trucks in the test flight, around the engine area or the cabin area. With small machine guns, that's where you should be hitting them. And don't forget you've got zoom as well. So you can zoom in on that. Make an absolute dog's dinner out of trying to hit this machine guns. The first one was easier. Maybe I need to offset position for where the actual guns are striking. There we go. See what I mean? The engine takes it. fly away. I've obviously got these 4 missiles on here, alright? These air-to-ground missiles. Should be using those really. Particularly on the scout, particularly early. Right, let's turn back towards the target. How far am I from them? 1.2k, that's close, but it's okay. What I should do is then go into hover mode here. Now, I'm flying everything realistic here, so there isn't actually an option to go hover mode. I manage it by creating the right lift and making that vector arrow, that velocity indicator, as small as possible, and then get the height sort of stable. Right, so I'm going backwards there. It's okay, that's good enough. So I'm going to go to gunner mode right now. See this? This is the mouse. So in common settings, where are we? Got mouse moving, helicopter, weaponry, some designation stuff. Fire to ground missile. I've got like a 4 or 5 button mouse, but mouse button 4 will send the air to ground missile off. I think by default your mouse, if you strap a mouse to your Xbox, will by default allow you to move around the screen. So this is not great because it's not stabilised, alright? So I'm going to fire a missile at, and what it will do is it will follow the cursor. See it zigzagging left and right. It's following your position of where your cursor is. But I've got the mouse on the sofa here and it's basically not very stable. Right. So what you've got to do, you've got to do just sight stabilisation. There's a button for sight stabilisation, which I use button 4, which is on the front of the throttle. It's my select target. What does sight stabilisation do? So if you press it, see that X has come up and it stays still when you don't move the mouse. This is me taking it off. It's moving. I'm not moving at all. I put sight stabilisation on there, it stays still, but the helicopter's still moving. Look. And I've got zoom in and out using. So I'm going to chuck a missile out at that. On the scout there is no locking, it's just all visual. So there's a missile away. That should strike the target. Happy days, target destroyed. Alright. There's some tanks there, so I can select it. See, let's take my sight stabilisation off. Let's do that. It's not away. So that's how you use tow missiles or wire-guided air-to-ground missiles on helicopters. Sight stabilisation is key. You see there I'm out now of missiles, and in test mode, because I've got it set, it's reloading automatically. But different helicopters have different sort of sights, different grades of zooming in, if I would say, better optics. Some of them on the Scout it's quite basic, so you don't get in that close. So that, very quickly, very roughly, is how you use a Hotas flight stick, or how I use the Hotas flight stick with War Thunder helicopters. Right, so here you can see me sort of coming in. I'm getting it low. I'm keeping an eye on the altitude, keeping an eye on my attitude, keeping an eye on the throttle. I'm using it to go up and down, dodge obstacles, and then I'm going to try and park it back on the helipad. I'm just basically managing. Whoop! May have not have managed that very well. There we go. That's better. So you try and manage that cushion of air, so that you manage the direction of travel and what you crash into or not. You can use this view. It can be a bit easier. You can use that view if you prefer. Problem with this view, it's not very easy or practical to fire any and launch any weapons. So you have to use a combination of views. So I use toggle view there, whether I discussed that or not. Toggle through the views. Let's go get back to camera controller. So we've got toggle view, got sight stabilization button. Track enemy. Track enemy is basically when you lock on. It's very similar to the Hurricane flight settings it's set up. It basically keeps your eye, your head tilted, looking at the target you've got at. Zoom X I talked about, viewing battle X and Y. Not interested in any of that. I've got engines on and off. Some helicopters have gear undercarriage you can put up and down. Open cockpit talked about. Cockpit lighting, yeah, if you need to. Multifunction displays, yeah, they're kind of cool. You can use those. Night vision, let's talk about that quick. Let's jump into the links quick. Depending on what tree you're researching, you'll have different things that you're going to be going for. So you're in the Prt3 and the American tree. Mavericks are quite cool. They're good for tanks that you want to blow up. Particularly player tanks. Oh, see, I was wrong. The gun's on the left-hand side of the links, not the right. On this loadout, I have 2 Stingers missiles, 8 Hellfire AGMs, air-to-air missiles, and a quite powerful machine gun. Right, let's take this in. Right, must be on that. Test flights, and how much fuel we've got. Minimum load. 1 hour and 20 minutes. We've got flares as well on this. Cool. Right. Very quick demo on Hellfires. Bear with me a second. Right, here we go. G-Links. Right, so G-Links has a RWR, radar warning receiver, and you can hear it paying off there. Look. And what that basically is telling me is there's SPAA over there. You need to deal with that quick. Alright, there it is there. Probably getting a lock on me. So I'm in Hellfire or gunner view, and that thing is pinging me and painting me up, ready to shoot at me. It won't because it's a test flight. So I can zoom into it, select target. Now with Hellfires, look, that's locked on, so I'm moving the mouse and it's locked onto it. Just let the missile go. Let's watch what that does. Just takes it out. So that's cool, but there are other things which are also cool. Let's talk about night vision and thermals. Select a target. So with the links, look, and the way it targets systems, if I keep pressing that, what was it, that button 10 on the front of the throttle, which is my button 10. What does button 10 mean? Common. Lock targets is button 4, is what it says on here, but on the front of the Hotas it actually says button 10. There's 2 on the front of the throttle on the left hand side throttle, and at the front I use the bottom one for select a target and the top one for changing target. So see that that's change target. I have one's in front, but you see that it's like creating a letterbox site of where I locked it, and I get so there. Now that's changed. Look, I'll just keep pressing it until that will actually lock onto. I'm probably too close for that to hit. Yeah, too close. Let's go backwards. G-Links is very agile. Right, there we go. That'll do. Stop there. Change that vector. Pivots. Now I've almost stopped moving. What, 20 miles an hour. put the connective up a bit just to get that so I'm not descending. Right. I've got a V set up for thermals. So in, let's say night vision. Right, just nights. Right then, NVD mode is V and D-pad, right? So V, I press V on my keyboard here, that turns that thermals on and off. So it's a little bit easier to see stuff. And with the Hellfires here, I can lock on, but I can also offset. This is laser designator as well. Controls, weapons. There's an option to toggle laser designator. I will have that on button 4 or 8 when I was talked about for select target. It basically allows me to cycle through, turning it on and off, allowing me to lock onto the target. So Hellfires sometimes go all the way up and then drop in. And you notice the sights on the Mavericks and the G-Links here, I can zoom in quite a bit more than what I could do on the Scout. Hellfires are cool, but they're not great in enduring confrontation, because to start with, you'll want to be hitting lots of ground targets, I'd suggest. And to be fair, you'd probably be better served by using unguided rockets, because you'll have more. It depends which aircraft you've got, whether you've got unguided rockets or guided air-to-ground missiles. But on the G-Links here, I've got 8 missiles gone, 8 targets hit. And I'm making that look easy. Sometimes you miss, depending on what your attitude is in your helicopter. You'll notice there I was hovering-ish at height, sitting duck basically. Any K-50s or K-52s or anything that will see me hovering basically take me out. So you need to be a bit careful. Put the time down again. But I need to be a bit careful with my approach to this. So let's return to the hangar. Let's get the stock links. No, better still, let's get the K-52. Let's do that. Particularly proud of my grind to the K-52. Let's just fly that. Ooh, let's go back a second. So on this I've got the Vickers rockets, they're nasty. Unguided, and I've got 4 air-to-air missiles. So each side I've got 5 either side unguided. 12 total Vickers air-to-ground missiles, although they are killer air-to-air missiles too, and then I've got 4 standard sort of air-to-air missiles to either side of the pylon. Alright, why am I talking about the K-52? I'm just talking about multifunction displays basically. Let's put this in test flight. Okay, that. And let's have a look. Nearly 40 minutes, we need to crack on and finish at 40. You've watched and heard me drone on too long as it is. Let's do this very quickly. Right, so it's the Kamarov K-52. As undercarriage, I'm using button 15 at the back. Same as I did for the Hurricane, basically, for my gear. So, I've got different sights on this, look. You can also have ballistic computer, so a bit of cross on that. See that big eye? The big eye. No. Help. I call this a big eye, it's rocket aim. When you put ballistic computer, you get a bit of a cross to there as well. Basically, the computer then computes based on your movement where it's going to strike. So sometimes that can be completely different to where the attitude indicator is that. Talk about multifunction displays. So on the K-52, you can change what's being displayed in the cockpit. It's kind of cool, but to be honest, it's a bit of a gimmick. You don't really need it. Right, so I'm going to fire rockets at the tank here. And basically that's unguided rockets. And they're particularly nasty on the K-52. They're really overpowered. Speaking of overpowered, you need to be a bit careful about how close you are to the target when you launch. Sometimes the shrapnel that can damage your aircraft. Oh, I'm out of rockets. So you can see they're taking damage. So yeah, be careful. As you advance up down the tree, you'll get more and more aircraft. You get better machine guns, better locking, better weaponry. So if I select that target there, look, see it's automatically. So that's near it, not on it. If I put the V on it, like that, now it's locked onto it. Now on the K-52, that cannon is on the right hand side. You see it there, look. So if I lock onto a target like that one, whoop, and I can't fire right now because it's on the wrong side, but as I sweep it round, I've gone too far. It doesn't actually, on the K-52, doesn't actually, it hasn't got a swivel mount. It's got a bit of movement, but not much. So some aircraft have sort of fixed with slight movement. Some aircraft have fully moving guns. Some aircraft have locking sights, like this one. If you're too close though, it won't get it. You don't have to use locking sights. So here what I do is I fly away from it, and the lock is broken. I can attempt to use just the sight without actually locking it on. And you can set high or low. Firing rate as well on some aircraft, which is kind of useful. This thing's a beast, alright? It's well worth it, but it's a beast. Who else? That one dead? Yeah, that one's dead. So yeah, multifunction display, different aircraft, different guns. Do the Apache quick. Oh, I haven't done air to air. Air-to-air missiles are very similar to air-to-air missiles on Air Realistic. Let's jump back to Great Britain. Let's put that links back in again. The white stuck on France. Right, here we go. So, right, air-to-air missiles. I got stingers on this. 4 stingers. And basically you need a button set up for enabling the aiming warhead, and then you need a button set up for letting it go. Restarted, so that SPA is still there, which is really annoying. Let's get rid of it quick. Sail away. Dead. Noise goes away. Somewhere behind you there is an aircraft. Right, so I'm using button 9 for weaponry. Where are we? I've got a combination of button 4 and button 1, which that's the buttons on the front of the Hotas throttle and the side rockets, because I've got rockets already set up. So I'm using a combo here to let this go. First I need to put the arming on, so the missile seeker's on. And that's on the Hotas, it's labelled button 9. I'm going to use a combination of button 10, so I'm holding that down ready to press rocket, there we go. And that's fired the air-to-air missile. I didn't actually have tone a second ago before releasing it, but that's my air-to-air missile. So in a nutshell, very quick, very rushed Hotas setup video for Warfinder helicopters. Let me know if you need any more help. Good luck, guys.